Well, divorce, we all hope if we have to do it, it will be easy and uneventful, but as you know, that is not always the case. Things can turn quickly, especially if children are involved. Mitch Reichman, he is a family law attorney and partner at J. Wilk, and he's here with some tips to guide you through those high conflict divorces, and that's actually what you specialize in, high conflict divorces.
I do.
Okay.
So a high conflict divorce is a divorce where people are unable to resolve their differences in an amicable or business-like fashion.
Okay, so I'm sure you've seen a lot.
Yeah.
In the years, how many years have you been doing this?
36 years now.
36 years. Give me some examples of what you would consider a high conflict divorce.
The characteristics of a high conflict divorce include sort of an unrelenting hostility between the parties. They're unable to communicate, or really more precisely, they're unable to communicate effectively. There's a lot of positioning to be the better parent, and often there are allegations of domestic violence or substance abuse, physical abuse, or even sexual abuse.
Wow. What have you seen over the last 36 years?
Too much.
Yeah.
But any variations of the human condition and human relationships can play out badly in a divorce that's high conflict because it's driven by people who have high conflict personalities. So they have black and white thinking, they have distorted reality, they can come to view the other person as evil or incompetent. There's a lot of blaming others for their condition, playing the victim, being unaccountable. So how that can play out in reality is, for example, we had a case where a parent convinced their young children that the other parent was inappropriately touching them. Oh. Nothing was happening. But through suggestive questioning, young children can be made to believe anything.
Sure.
So then the young children are taken to a mental health professional, and then they report that something bad has happened. It took a very long time to resolve that and to weed through to the reality, but it was resolved, and it was successfully resolved.
Yeah, I hate to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, some of the worst case probably was we have a client who was actually being poisoned by their spouse. Over a period of time, being poisoned.
Oh my gosh!
And fortunately, went to a very good medical care facility, and they figured out what was going on before he died.
You know, and Mitchell, here's the thing: is that we're talking about one day, perfectly normal, everyday people, right?
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
But maybe not acting out.
Right.
Yet.
Okay. Because think of the emotion, that's involved in something like this. I mean, anybody could flip a switch.
Yeah. I think you have to have a propensity to behave the way some people behave because they're driven by things that they can't control. Okay. And that's the first strategy, really, is what we tell clients who are involved in high conflict divorces: you need to stay calm. So before you have interactions with the other person, you need to prepare for those interactions, whether it's deep breathing or some kind of mindfulness technique. You need to stay calm. And then the next most important thing you have to learn is you need to learn how to communicate without becoming engaged. So you see people come into court and they have stacks of text messages and emails, and they want to show that they're right and the other person is wrong, and all this bad behavior. And a lot of times it's sort of a self-created message. Right. So what we coach people to do in communication is, number one, when you get a communication, you make a decision: do I even need to respond to it? And then number two is, okay, if I'm going to respond, what's the purpose of my response? The purpose of responding would be to respond to a communication that might be shown to someone else that includes information in it that's false. And so you want to be brief, you want to be informative, so you want to directly respond to the false allegation. You want to make it friendly to see if you can end the continuing communications that may come afterwards, and you want to be firm.
Wow, those were all really good tips. Thank you for sharing that. Sure. But you mentioned texting and social media. This is such a huge part of our society now. What do you recommend with that? So
in the very first meeting with a client, we're going to tell that client: disconnect, unfollow, defriend. Do not put your private information on social media. The other side is going to be looking at all of that. Don't let people post things, pictures of you, doing things that you might not want to be public. Don't put up pictures of your children. Really disconnect would be the best advice.
Wow. Okay. Lot of useful advice.
Thank
and
you.
It's kind of scary, what goes on out there. I could sit and talk to you all day about war stories. It's pretty amazing what people do. But you know what? I've been doing it for 36 years. So divorce is, high conflict is Mitchell's specialty. J. Wilk is located at 3200 North Central Avenue. Should you need him, he will be there for you. Suite 2000 in Phoenix. 602-248-1000. Learn more at jbergwilk.com.